Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 292 of the All Dolphins podcast. As you can see, those of you watching on YouTube, I am joined today by WSVN sports anchor, sportscaster. You prefer sports anchor or sportscaster Josh Moser?
It's all the same. We're just here talking Dolphins.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Sports personality, sports good guy, all of the above.
Yeah.
There you go. The Moz knows. Josh Moser. Thanks for joining us, Josh. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Very, very excited with the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. And I heard something about you growing a playoff beard.
Yeah, we got the playoff beard growing. Headed up to New York tomorrow. We'll be there for games 1 and 2. And the team's been great on the road. So hopefully they can get a split and bring it on back to Sunrise and go from there.
Very nice. That'd be completely awesome for the Panthers to go to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years. Major tip of the hat to Panthers center Alexander Barkov, who on Saturday night was named the winner of the Frank Selke Trophy as the best defensive forward in the NHL. And this is a guy who also is actually very good offensively. I have put on Twitter many, many times, best player in Panthers history, and there's not a close second.
No. I mean, he's just a great person, pretty reserved with us. But when you get to know him, he's a special player, obviously a great two-way hockey player. And then, just the job that Bill Zito has done to put this team together. Everyone was freaking out when he traded Jonathan Huberdeau, who was realistically the face of the franchise with Sasha Barkov. And here you have Matthew Tkachuk, who's been a difference maker. You signed Gustav Forsling that nobody knew about to a major long-term contract, 8 years, and he scores the game winner here for the series in the last series against the Bruins. First defenseman to ever do that. So love the synergy, love what they're putting together, and you just hope that they can stay healthy and take it to the Rangers and get back to the Stanley Cup Finals.
And maybe some of their winning ways, playoff success, can evaporate into the air and make its way over to Miami Gardens, to the Dolphins, where it would be nice if they actually won a playoff game. It's been a while. It's been a while since they've been to the AFC Championship game, and that's going to be topic of my very brief history lesson, but it's a very interesting one. And you may learn some things here because I'm thinking you may not even have been born, because today we're going to look back at 1992. This is episode 292. The Dolphins, after not making the playoffs the previous season, wound up going 11-5, won the AFC's title. And then early in the season, very important historical fact happened, and 4 players sued the NFL to become free agents. Become unrestricted free agents. That shopping spree that we see going on in March, that didn't start for the first time until 1993. In August or September of 1992, 4 players, including tight end Keith Jackson, sued the NFL for the right to become free agents. Immediately, they won their case. Teams were allowed to bid on those 4 players. The Dolphins wound up getting the rights to, or signing Keith Jackson to a 4-year contract, immediately made a major contribution. In fact, that very week, it was actually October, it was late September, the court case, the Dolphins were playing at Buffalo in early October, won 37-10. Unfortunately, after the successful regular season and a 31-0 shutout win against the San Diego Chargers in the first round of the playoffs, the divisional round, the Dolphins were at home for the AFC Championship game and lost to the Bills. Final score was 29-10. This was a game where the Bills absolutely killed the Dolphins with screen passes to Thurman Thomas and Kenneth Davis. And that, unfortunately, is the last time the Dolphins ever reached the AFC Championship game. Okay, so having said that,
wow.
1992. Yep. Been a while.
I mean, I know it's been 23 years since the last playoff win, but 92, man, it's crazy to think. I mean, that's more than 30 years ago now. History lesson. I love these. Thurman Thomas is a name I haven't thought of in a long time. I'm sure Dolphins fans remember it well. Who was the Dolphins quarterback that year?
It was Marino.
It was
Dan Marino, who had a very good 1990 season. Yeah, Marino played until through 1999. Didn't have a big game. There were a lot of turnovers that day. I don't remember. I can't recall. There was a lot of fumbles. I think more so than interceptions. But the biggest issue is they couldn't stop the Bills' screen passes. Anyway, let's flash forward to 2024. The start of OTAs officially on Monday. Tuesday is the first chance for reporters to actually view a practice. You will be in New York, so you won't be there. I will be there with bells on or whatever I'm going to wear, probably the hat. From your standpoint, what would be the storylines of the OTAs, Josh?
Well, obviously, we want to talk to Tua to figure out where this contract negotiation is. That is 1A, and I don't think anybody cares about anything else. And for me, I think it's the early impressions of Anthony Weaver. We talked extensively about how good this defense can be when healthy, but this is the third defensive coordinator now in 3 years under head coach Mike McDaniel. So you need to get that side of the ball, really moving. And I think there is a lot of interest from the fans just to see how these rookies stack up. I mean, a lot of excitement about Chop Robinson, and then obviously the health of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Where are they at? And I think those would be my kind of key points. You've got some new faces as well, free agents that came in. So Fuller's definitely one. And obviously Jordan Poyer coming over from the Bills. I think fans are really fired up because he said that Josh Allen was the best quarterback in the game.
Oh,
so
I have that on my list. Josh, I have that on my list to discuss today.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the NFL it's a PR engine. There is no off season anymore. So, we're here just to fill the time, but there's a lot of excitement. I think the schedule is something cool to talk about for the fans. Most primetime games in 20 years. That's a tip of the cap from the league to this team. And, hopefully the Dolphins win a playoff game because with this roster, if they can stay healthy, they certainly should.
Would be nice. It would be time. I will say one thing, though. I agree with you that a lot of the focus right now is on the Tua contract situation. I would not expect Tua to be speaking to reporters anytime in the offseason. He doesn't want to negotiate in public, and that's perfectly fine. And what else are we going to ask him if we're allowed the opportunity to interview Tua? It's not going to be about his third year in the same offense with Mike McDaniel and Darrell Bevell. It's going to be about his contract situation. He's not going to want to talk about it. So the chances are that we're going to get him our Slim and None, and Slim bought a ticket on the bus out of town. If you use the old expression here. You made a very good point about the defense. This is going to be our first look on the field at what they might do schematically with Anthony Weaver as a new DC. It's going to be an abbreviated look, and they're certainly not going to show everything, but at least we can get some sort of an idea. We're going to get a lot of Baltimore Ravens concepts because that's who we worked for last year. You got the sink running over there? Got a lot of water going on. Since we brought up the Tua situation,
I just lost you for a brief second.
I just kept hearing water running over there.
I think I might have just lost you. Gotta love technology.
Gotta love technology. Well, I'll keep going, and you chime in.
Oh.
You chime in whenever
Wi-Fi connection.
You're back. We discussed the Tua situation. Josh is going to chime in again when his Wi-Fi reconnects. And I had this issue with. Yeah, there you go. You and Omar, my previous partner here. Something with the Wi-Fi. But you touched on the Tua contract situation, the reports. You back with me or no? I guess not.
I'm with you. I can hear you.
Okay, you're with me. Okay. So there were the reports. There were the reports that he missed a good portion of the offseason program while he awaits his new contract, a new long-term deal that everybody expects to happen. Yes, it's going to happen by all indications. Probably sooner rather than later. I don't expect it to go. And you had Drew Rosenhaus on making his weekly appearance on WSVN with you, and he basically is expecting it before now in the start of training camp, which certainly would seem very logical. And as we point out all the time, these are voluntary sessions. Players are not obligated to go. Teams obviously would prefer everybody to go, but there are certain veterans. Dominic Sue never showed up at those. He used to stay in Portland to train. There are other players who do the same thing, have their own setup away from the team, and that's completely kosher. Because Tua is looking for a new contract and he's missed some of this work, yes, it's worth mentioning. It doesn't mean that, Tua's pissed off and he's going to hold out when training camp begins or he's going to hold in. But it's worthy enough to mention. And now, as he had said at his luau, he was planning on being there with the OTAs with his teammates, and the reports are that he was there on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, Look, I mean, this is business as usual. Ryan Williams is his agent from Athletes First. He's the one that's going to be negotiating this deal. I reached out to him, actually did not respond back. Tua is very private. Chris Greer is very private. I think the thing that is interesting with this deal, the benchmark previously was Joe Burrow, right around $55 million a year. But then with Jared Goff getting this astronomical number of 4 years, $212 million, that moves the chain a little bit from the agent perspective, because you're looking for a slotted value. And I know the fans are going to be really loud, and they're going to say that this guy can't win when it matters. He hasn't won a playoff game. We haven't seen very many game-winning drives. But regardless of that, this is the business of paying quarterbacks in the NFL. You're going to pay the number. It's just how it works. So I understand that plans are saying, he's on the 1-year deal on the, 5th-year option versus, getting a long-term extension. But you have to have a healthy quarterback. You have to have a happy quarterback. And it's a lot easier when you've got guaranteed money put away. And the guaranteed money is what matters, because we've seen in a lot of these deals, even the Tyreek deal, that made him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history at the time on a $30 million annual basis. They're going to void the last year of that contract. So if they need to add a void year for Tua to put him somewhere, because Goff got, I think it was like 170 plus million guaranteed in the first 2 years. I mean, that is the figure that matters. It's not the 200. So for fans that are watching this, that's a big distinction. But look, Tua's going to get paid slot value. Trevor Lawrence is going to get paid too. So, you just hope that this thing gets figured out before training camp, before this really ramps up. Like you mentioned, Alan, like OTAs really don't mean much. A lot of teams put in a workout bonus just so that they can put eyes on a player, so that they're in the facility, just so they can touch base and see where they're at. But like you said, nothing really matters until training camp. And a lot of these guys work out on their own. They're staying in touch. They have round-the-clock access to the nutritionist, the strength coach, facilities, whatever they want. So, it'll be the big topic. But, for me, it's, this thing's got to get done. They let go a lot of key free agents that they could have re-signed, Christian Wilkins being, very notable. They got priced out with Robert Hunt. So, that money's going to Tua. They've been very conservative in free agency with the money that they've spent. And remember, they've got the more money coming off the books here June 1st with Xavier Howard as that post-June 1 designation. So just get this thing done. And then I realistically think you extend a couple other players too. Jalen Waddle is going to need a deal. They picked up his 5th-year option. Javon Holland is more pressing because he was a 2nd-round pick. He's somebody that's going to need to get extended. He's in the final year of his deal. You hope that you can probably extend Tyreek just to bring his cap hit down. I think that's on the table, but they want to get Tua done first and then figure it out from there. Yeah, Tyreek's aging out. We didn't talk about key off season. He got his wife pregnant, got 4 other women pregnant.
I know.
His wife is finally pregnant. He told me he wants to get to 10 kids. He's at 8. So this is 9. Could get to 10 and get the 5-on-5 basketball team here.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be extending him, to be honest with you. And this is a guy also, remember, he's got no guaranteed money beyond this year. And let me point out, as somebody who hears it from Tua supporters, you kind of presented it as if the only fans who talk about Tua are those who point out the areas where he comes up short. No. There are a lot of fans. I don't know the percentages, but there's a large faction of Tua fans who will sing his praises at every turn, and then there's some Tua detractors who will point out his shortcomings. I, for the record, sit in the middle, except I get completely destroyed, obliterated by the Tua loyalists who think I'm too hard on him or don't praise him enough.
But like, when is Tua going to have more leverage? He had the concussion year, came back this year.
Never
played in all the games, led the NFL in passing, made the Pro Bowl. I mean, as an agent and someone that's representing him, you want to get that deal done now. Is he going to replicate that success next year? Like, we don't know. He had a phenomenal season. So, but it's going to get done. I think it'll be done before training camp.
Oh, no, I agree, because I think this is how the Dolphins see him. But you use the same word that was used on a national talk show. You said he had a phenomenal season. Can we use the word phenomenal considering his stats against playoff opponents where this passer rating was 80.8? See, that to me, this is where we push back.
So we're dissecting the stats. If you're going to look at it in totality, overall, for 17 weeks, he had a quote-unquote phenomenal season. If you're going to micro it and look at the games that actually mattered, there's a lot to be desired there. Okay. That being said, Daniel Jones is getting paid $40 million.
And the Giants, Josh, the Giants messed that up. Doesn't mean teams have to replicate their mistake.
I agree, but as an agent, from the agent side, they're not going to take less than that. They're going to say that's so. They're going to. Fans are going to feel like the Dolphins will overpay to them in their eyes. I think it's going to come, but that is just the business of paying quarterbacks in the NFL. That's just how it works. But I mean, look, to me, $55 million a year, that should be the number. I know that they're probably pushing for a little more. The report's interesting because it said that they offered him or Tua turned it down at least one offer. So I'm curious what that number was and like how far apart they actually are. But like Drew Rosenhaus said, he has held clients back from OTAs if he felt like the team was negotiating in bad faith. Right. So by Tua being there and following up, I'm sure it was a reasonable number. They would obviously like to be more. So it's not like it was an insulting offer. They're probably coming together over language and maybe a difference of $20 million over 4 years. So a difference of $5 million a season. That's just me guessing. I mean, it's got to be somewhere in the ballpark there of, what they're looking for. And then they can tinker it, however they want to do it. But like you said, Tyreek's, this is his last year with guaranteed money. This is Jalen Ramsey's last year with, he's got the out. So, I mean, this is it. This year is the window. So they're kind of all in FM picks, or you dial it back and you rebuild.
No, correct. And this is also where we should point out that it's really, really not a big deal, this notion of Tua and his representation turning down a contract offer. It's called negotiating. I mean, it's basically the Dolphins are going to come here, and I'm, for those listening on the audio portion, I'm motioning low. Tua's agents are going to come back high. Then the Dolphins are going to counter higher than they were before, but probably lower than what Tua's representation had. And this is where eventually they're going to close the gap. I still think it's going to, I mean, it's like, the notion that there's anything behind them, like, well, Tua already rejected a contract offer. Well, okay, again, it's called negotiating. Okay, let's move on from Tua, because I know there's a portion of fans who are tired of hearing it. Guess what? He's only the starting quarterback, and he's only the guy who's going to take up the highest percentage of the salary cap. So, yes, it's relevant every time there's developments with him. Sorry, that's just like you mentioned them. Jordan Poyer, charity softball game at his good buddy Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde's charity softball game in Buffalo. The guys were partners in the secondary at safety for 7 years. And while he grabs the microphone before his at bat, I don't know if he chucked any over the fence. I know Josh Allen apparently killed it in the home run derby. But Jordan Poyer is thanking everybody for 7 wonderful years in Buffalo. Sorry we couldn't get it done, but Bills fans, you still have the best quarterback in the league, pointing to Josh Allen. And my thought was like, good job playing to the crowd. That's going to play well. Second of all, did you really need to say those exact words now that you're a member of the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, look, you're at a charity softball game. I covered Micah Hyde in Green Bay. It's got Brian Lamb puts on the softball tournament. I've been a part of those for the last decade. And it's just fun. He's playing to the crowd. I think he wanted to end off, on a good note. That being said, he's got Tua, but it's also, he plays defense, so he can kind of say whatever he wants to say. It's not like he's playing with Tua. Is Tua going to be offended by that? I don't think so. Is the fan base going to eat it up? Absolutely, because they got nothing else going on right now. But look, Jordan Poyer took the veteran minimum to be here. We talked about this where a lot of people around the league feel like he has lost a step from what he was. I believe Micah Hyde's still looking for a contract too. I mean, in their prime, that safety duo might have been arguably top 3 in the league, if not higher. But they're very close friends. Number one, you're saying one. I agree. The softball games, the players are having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. I would call it a Freudian slip, saying, a goodbye. I wouldn't read too much into it, but for the purists, it might not have been, you could have said you're the best quarterback I ever played with, the qualifier, if you will. But,
perfect. That'd have been great because he also played with Aaron Rodgers. So that would have been perfect.
Exactly.
No. I'm sorry. Michael Hyde played with Jordan Poyer, came from Cleveland, and then he played with the Eagles.
So
that's a low bar then.
he's fine. I mean, it's just the headline ticker tape. It's going to be taken out of context, but I wouldn't worry about it. And I don't think Tua is going to care at all.
No, and it's interesting, and it's certainly counterbalanced by all the offensive players who get interviewed, and we saw it with Tyreek Hill when he joined the Dolphins, and it was throwing praise at Tua at every turn, every chance he got, which was great. Build up the players' confidence if that's part of the thing, and also build up the rapport and all that. Even Odell Beckham Jr. last week in his press conference, and even though some of those comments to me again were overblown, this is a newcomer talking about his new quarterback. What's he going to say? It was why, again, to me, it's one of those where it's not a big deal. It was actually interesting, but he could have said it. He could have sung Josh Allen's praise without saying the best quarterback. Like the way you said it, best quarterback I ever played with.
Yeah. Words, everybody texts in this generation now. It's artful to use words and to be able to speak just like you. They're not as dapper on front of the mic like Alain. It's a pro athlete. It's fine. They're not as calculated. I will say though, kind of a hockey reference. I spoke to a couple of the Panthers players, and on the same note, they won a big game in the series. Like, you're going to go enjoy it, have a couple beers afterwards, and the Canadian media would have roasted them had they had lost the game. And so they told me off camera, like, hey, we're not going to answer those type of questions just because we feel like there's going to be backlash and it's going to be twisted from whatever we say. So I kind of feel like we're in that age of journalism sometimes, not the two of us, but words can be twisted. And I feel like that's kind of a situation where, it's being way overblown out of context. And I'm sure if we talk to Jordan, maybe, I'll probably ask him and I'll say, hey, how do you feel about this? And I'm sure we'll get a qualified answer, and we'll be able to move on.
No, absolutely, and it'll be in good fun. And I did write about it. I'm going to say it right now. I wrote about it on SI.com/NFL/Dolphins because it's out there. As Jordan Poyer said, he figured like when he said it, it's going to go viral. That's okay. A couple of other quick topics. Pro Football Focus. You compliment me on my ability to speak, and I can't pronounce words. Pro Football Focus ranked the best rosters in the NFL, quarterbacks excluded, and they had the Dolphins at number 6 behind the San Francisco 49ers, the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, the New York Jets, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Your initial reaction when you hear that?
What a bogus way to rank a team, because quarterback play determines so much. I mean, I literally watched Aaron Rodgers carry Packers teams for years when they had nobody on offense. I wouldn't read anything into this. Like, I think this is kind of one of those, fun things to do in the off season. But to me, you can't rank a team without quarterback play. You're telling me that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the same team with anybody else at quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes? Like, no way. But I understand if they're talking about depth and other pieces around them.
No, correct. It's basically which team is least dependent on their quarterback.
Yeah, but again, like anything offensive related, which the fans care about because we're in the world of fantasy football now. Like the defense probably is what matters the most, I think, in this ranking system, and obviously depth. I mean, that to me, they're a top 5 roster. I think that sounds about right. The Jets are young. Curious to see what they are. Like, no idea. We know the Browns loaded up, but that's a brand new receiving core, and you have no idea what Deshaun Watson's going to give you. So
you remember no quarterbacks.
Yeah, so no quarterbacks. I mean, sure. I'll say 6. That's fair. Why not? But to me, that's just to fill some time and get some clicks.
Okay, sounds good. Last one. The same folks at PFF ranked or named underappreciated player for each team. If I ask you, who's your vote for the Dolphins' most underappreciated player?
For next year's roster or from last year's team?
It can be either or.
Underappreciated player. Wow.
I can tell you who they name, but I don't want to influence your choice.
I would probably say, just because of his contract, I would say Zach Sealer.
Ding, 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 ding.
The production that he gets for the amount of money that he is making, he is vastly underpaid. So thinking that's how they would do the ranking system, I would pick him.
Yeah, and
maybe Van Ginkel last year, the way he flashed, but no one expected him to have that season, and then he got hurt. Yeah. You could argue that Raheem Mostert is underappreciated because of his contract and what he produced. But to me, Sealer far and above.
No, I agree. And the thing with Sealer is it's easy for him to get lost. I mean, last year playing next to Christian Wilkins, who was a former first-round pick, who's got the big personality, who kind of everybody around the league, if you're a casual observer, would know a lot more than, who's that 92? He's pretty good. And Sealer wound up with 10 sacks. And it's funny because at one point of this offseason, I was like, man, where the hell did that come from? And then I looked, and in college 1 year at Ferris State in Michigan, he had 19 sacks. Oh, okay. I mean, understand Ferris State is in Michigan or UM.
Division II. Yeah.
But still, 19 sacks is 19 sacks.
Yeah, he's a special player. And obviously, if you look at what Chris Greer did this offseason, they brought in like 7 other random defensive tackles. Tier Tart might be the most notable name, former FIU player. This is a local tie that fans might know. But you feel comfortable with Zach Sealer. Obviously, you would have loved to have had Christian Wilkins, but he makes over $100 million. And so I think he's just priced out, and they know that money's got to go to Tua. That's realistically just what it is. But, to me, Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby on the defensive line together in Oakland, if they could get a quarterback over there, like that team could be scary. But
I don't know that Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell scare anybody to be.
No, but I mean, to have that type of confidence, knowing that Sealer is your guy in the middle. I mean, again, this team really doesn't have a true nose. You hope that Tier Tart can be that, but like we said, I'm curious to see what Anthony Weaver's going to do. I would love to see Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb, and Jalen Phillips all on the field at the same time. I think that'd be really intriguing. I don't know how it would work, but that'd be so much speed. So I think they could do a lot of different things, and I'm really excited to see how this scheme develops and what they decide to do.
Yes, sir. Okay, before we wrap it up, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction because I don't want to put you in a position to go against the Panthers or to be a homer. So I will ask you like this. What is your level of confidence that the Florida Panthers get by the New York Rangers and return to the Stanley Cup final?
I would say that was 70% certainty. Vegas has them favored. I think it's going to go 6 or 7 games. I think the Panthers have just played so well on the road, and I think that this team is really in sync. We talk about chemistry so often in the locker room, not only on the ice, but just off the ice. And this team is so close. And when you have that closeness and that bond, it just allows you to go beyond what you're capable of projecting to do. So as long as this team stays healthy this round, I see them advancing in 6 or 7 games. I think they get a split here. I think we end up 2-2, and then I think you could see them win the last 2 games. And then, you hope that it goes through Dallas. We'll see what happens with Vancouver and Edmonton. I love Vancouver. It's one of my favorite cities. Puget Sound is beautiful. Would love to visit if there's a Stanley Cup Finals there. But, let's just hope that they can get this team back. Remember, the Rangers are returning, a former player that was Paul Maurice's former captain. So they're getting some pieces back, and Madison Square Garden is going to be rocking. They have waited a long time for this. Imagine if the Knicks were still in the NBA Eastern Conference playoffs. It would have been a wild time to be in the city. But, 70% certainty, and I hope I'm not eating my words. But I say the Panthers in 7.
Okay, sold. And if you're wrong, I will not make you eat your words. On that note, I'm not going to do that. On that note, Josh, again, appreciate the time. We're going to close it out with a logo. Again, please subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your neighbors, tell your coworkers, tell everybody, spread the word. Much appreciated. We'll catch you guys tomorrow when we're going to have a recap of what we saw during the one OTA of the week where the media is allowed. So thanks, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow.